I want to hear the tools that you've learned, because you are such an amazing therapist, and you're able to connect to so many people on so many different levels. And that is a skill set that does not come easily. And, you know, obviously you've got it because you've been through your personal struggles, and, you know, nothing is ever an accident. There's no coincidences. What are some of the tools that you've got out of this that we can share with the people at home right now who are single and going, oh my God, I miss my ex, or I just want to like shoot myself, or I can't cope with life, I don't know how I'm going to financially get out of this. And I know there's a lot of couples where maybe one person has lost their job and the other one's having to carry everything. And although it could be harder on the person that's having to carry the financial stuff, the person that's lost their job is like in complete guilt. So everyone's like going through all these different emotions.
Yeah.
What are some tools? How did you pull yourself out of this?
Yeah, it is a interesting phase of life. But I always say that we were all meant to learn a lesson from this. And the reason I say that is because I have learned the greatest lessons of my life during that period of that depression, honestly. One of the main things that I promised myself while I was going through it was that if I come out of this, I will forever be grateful, and I will never, like for 1 second, take it for granted. And so right now, I often get DMs on Instagram, how are you so positive? Da, 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 da. I'm positive because I'm grateful. So gratefulness, thanking, thanking God, thanking the source, whatever it is that you believe in. You don't even have to thank anybody. Just writing down what it is that you're thankful for will keep you positive. And when you feel more positive, you are less likely to feel any signs of depression or anxiety. So gratefulness, number one. Number two, exercising. One of the things I always talk about this, one of the things that got me out of that depression was when I finally had the ability to get out of that bed, I started working out. I started getting on the treadmill. I started bringing some workout tools into my house. And it's funny because the tools I'm working out with right now, some of them are the ones that I had from back then. So it's actually reminding me of that phase, but I couldn't leave the house.
You're going to have to do a video because I love you working out. It got me back into a routine.
Are you serious? I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, I love motivating people to exercise because I know it's a direct link to mental health. And my goal with anything and everything that I do is to encourage people to have a happier mindset and a healthier mind. So that's one of the reasons I post that. But so I started working out. I realized that when I would get my heart rate up and I would sweat and then I would go shower and I would come out, I would feel a surge of energy. And I was really lacking energy because when you're sad, when you're depressed, your energy also goes down. So that's why I started continuing working out, because it was giving me energy. So working out, and one of the reasons working out is so good because it is a natural interruption of your negative cycle of thinking. So again, we're ruminating, we're going through all the things that are going wrong in the world right now, and we can't stop ourselves from thinking. What do we do? How do we move away from these thoughts? The best tool is a healthy distraction. What is the best healthy distraction? Working out. Yeah. What kind of working out? Something that will increase your heart rate, because when your heart goes up, you're focusing on your breathing and you're focusing on the actual task at hand, and your mind is naturally distracted. It is impossible for you to continuously think when you're doing that. So that's one of the best things to do, a healthy distraction, working out. Number three, the most important thing during this whole quarantine situation. So besides the whole coronavirus, the quarantine is causing a lot of problems for people. It's causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. So when it comes to quarantine, I say, and the reason I said quarantine is because those healthcare workers or those people that are fighting in the front of the line right now, this is not for them, because they are obviously not at home and they are probably experiencing a different set of symptoms than the people staying at home. So this is for people who are quarantined. I really recommend doing a inside of the house daily routine that is the closest to your outside of the house routine. So for example, if you used to get up and have a cup of coffee and then got ready for your day, have a cup of coffee and get ready for your day, but for your day in. And that doesn't mean put a suit on, but it means get out of your pajamas. because when you change your clothes, when you put on, I don't know, some sunblock or whatever it is that you were doing, it gives your brain a cue that this is the start of your day like it always was. But if you stay in your pajamas and you don't even wash your face, your mind is thinking, oh, we're still in pajama mode, we're still in relaxation mode. And it's like you don't wake up. And when you don't wake up, you feel kind of like, you know, sluggish, and you don't want to do anything, lack of motivation. So put on some sunblock, put on your tinted moisturizer, whatever it is. I actually put on all my makeup every morning because it makes me feel alive and it makes me feel good. I get criticism for it all the time, but I really don't mind because it helps me. So what matters is what makes you feel alive, right? So after that, I recommend.
I love that you don't take not one day for granted after that, because you know what? I think it's nice that you put on your makeup every day. It just shows that you're ready to get out there and live your day and live every day to the fullest. And I love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have gotten really good at knowing what makes me happy and following those steps regardless of what anybody says or what anybody thinks. That was one of the major lessons of that phase in my life. So back to the quarantine. So then, okay, we go into virtual work, getting on your computer, doing your virtual work if you have it, if you're able to. If you don't have that kind of work that you can do virtually, no problem. Come up with creative projects, things that you couldn't do before because you didn't have the time. I mean, there's so many things we always say, I want to do this, I want to do that, but we don't have the time to do because our life is so busy. And this is the perfect time to do some of those things. So pick up some of those projects. If you don't have any projects, organize your house. Organizing will really help your stress. So organize your house, start a workout routine, do things you didn't do before, get creative, do art projects. Busying your mind is one of the best tools out there to combat depression during this quarantine. Also anxiety too. One of the most important things for anxiety during quarantine or during this whole pandemic is to please stop watching the news. People are going crazy watching the news 24/7. I have girlfriends that are literally constantly on their laptop or their phone, and they're like just on a constant update basis. We do not work for the CDC. We are not working for the government. We do not need to know every second of the day what's happening. As long as we know the major occurrences, especially for our community, because then we can help protect ourselves and the people around us. That's really what we need to focus on. It can make you feel really anxious if you're constantly listening.
Especially with conspiracy theories going around, and you know,
yes,
it's horrible. Absolutely,
100%. And you know, the reality is
it does the opposite, because the whole goal here is to actually stop ourselves from overthinking, because there is such a thing as overthinking. And the whole point is to busy our minds so that we don't think about that stuff. So doing other things helps us not focus on that, and helps us develop skills and our mindset so that when we do come out on the other side of this, that we are at a better place, that we are stronger, that we've stretched ourselves and we grow, because that's how we grow. We grow by going through stuff. And as you said earlier, and I love what you said we go through stuff now so that we can actually be more resilient in the future.
100%. 100%. And you know, the way I look at this, and I was actually telling one of my clients this, is work backwards. So imagine it's like 5 years from now, not even that far. Imagine it's 2 years from now, you're looking back at this period in life and everything is back to normal. You're back to traveling, back to dressing up, going out, working, this, that. What will yourself, your 2020 self, tell your 2022 self, tell your 2020 self? How would you have wished you would have handled the situation? What would you have wished you would have done? You would have learned, you would have explored during this phase in life that you missed out on. Because really, if you look at it, it's an opportunity. It's actually an opportunity of a lifetime. And for people who have children, younger children, I think it's the biggest blessing, because yes, at times I want to shoot myself because I can't even get a minute in without someone like coming in. Like right now I lock the doors and they have already come knocking on the door 4 times and I'm just kind of ignoring them, but my husband is with them. But it is the most beautiful time with them. It's uninterrupted. It is just wholesome. It's so wholesome and it's so pure and it's so innocent and it's not rushed and it's not, you know, we create these like really extravagant events for the kids and all they want is really just their parents to hang out with them, and do simple things. And like, I don't know, my girls and I have been doing laundry together and we've been having fun, and not that that's the experience everybody's having, and I'm completely understanding of that, but it all goes back to your mindset. It is what it is. This situation is what it is. There's a saying, amor fati, which means love your faith. Love this situation you're in. This is your faith. We were all meant to be in this situation right now. Every single person who is alive in the world was supposed to go through this situation right now. So if you were to just accept it for what it is and stop questioning when it's going to be over, and stop trying to play psychic. None of us are psychic. We don't know when it's going to be over. It's really something that the universe needs to kind of plan out and figure out what's happening, right? Or maybe the leader of the country can kind of guide us based on the expert opinions. But besides that, I mean, we really have no control. We might as well just take it for what it is, enjoy it, and make the most out of it. So personally, what I've been doing is, the first moment that I had to kind of think about, okay, what is it that I want to do with this time? I was like, okay, I am going to work out harder than ever in my house. And yes, I do know how to work out because I've worked out for a while. But for those of you that don't, there's so many incredible videos out there. You just YouTube 10-minute apps, YouTube like full body workout, and everything is right there for you. So you can have the body of a lifetime. You can start that blog that you've always wanted to start and you couldn't. You can start a online company. I mean, there's so many things we could do virtually, goals that we've had that we didn't have time to do. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm utilizing it.
I've picked up learning Spanish because I haven't had time.
Ooh, muy bien.
I'm not that.
That's great. I love Spanish. It's one of my favorite languages. That's great.
It's so important to do something that you've always wanted to do. And we're blessed with so much time on our hands right now that we really should utilize it. And for me, exercise is really important too, because, when you have a child, you get so busy with, even when you go to the gym every day, you get so busy that you have to, take calls while you're at the gym, or you get interrupted, or just not putting 100% into running on that treadmill or whatever it is.
100%.
And right now, even with the kids at home and having so many other things, I know everyone's situation is different. We have that ability to refocus. And I think that's why this has all happened, because we are meant to become one with ourselves and really kind of embrace that which we have always wanted to, and really rework and rethink what we want for 2022, and I love that exercise that you suggest. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it, because, like we always say, this too shall pass. So just imagine it has passed and you've actually had time to process it. And now you're looking back and you're asking yourself, what could I have done better? How could I have utilized this time better? And if you look at it like that, I promise you that you will look at it differently and you will utilize that to your advantage.
That's brilliant. I absolutely love that. I think, because I've been doing lots of interviews over the last couple of weeks, I've heard lots of.
I love that.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really enjoying it because I get to help people. And as well as that, it helps me delve deeper into the topic of love and relationships, which I'm so blessed to, have as a specialization, because I think it relates to everything. It can relate to our health, money, friendships, romantic
100%.
relationships, parent-child relationships. And I love what you just said as well, that when you look back, as your future self looking back, you can kind of go, oh yeah, I wish I worked out more, my legs would be more toned, or I wish that I just 10 minutes a day of a language, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing 5 or 10 minutes of Spanish because I'm still quite busy, but I'm like, okay, you know what? Like that's my goal for the end of quarantine, that I, can have some sort of dialogue going back and forward.
Right. And a lot of people will come back and say, well, I don't have time. I'm working virtually. I have kids, this and that. And I think that's wonderful. It's great to be busy, because if you are busy, you will feel like you're utilizing your time and your mind won't be all over the place and you won't have as much anxiety. So that's great. But I think we can always set aside, like you said, I mean, 10 to 20 minutes a day, you could literally get great apps. You know what I mean? 10 to 20 minutes a day.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's
Just
worth it.
yep. There's that girl. I'm not sure if you've seen Pamela RF on YouTube. She's awesome. She's a young girl that has this amazing body. You know,
Yes,
probably because she's so young and energetic as well. But she does 10-minute workouts that really make you feel that burn,
I'm
and
telling you.
it all builds up. And even with learning a language or getting your mindset right, there's no reason why you can't be outside running or walking or even just pacing around your house or doing some sort of yoga moves, but be plugged in as well to learning a language. You can multitask, or you can have a podcast running in the background that, I was doing something yesterday and I had Joel Osteen on in the background because I love him.
Oh my God, I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
He
And
is pure goodness.
pure goodness. And he had,
Yes.
he was actually talking, the topic was basically taking a moment to rest. And there was so much power in that. And it's about really allowing ourselves just to breathe and decompress, being okay with everything that's going on and being in the present moment. Because when we're in the present moment, obviously we're not feeling anxious. And that's where, all the magic happens. And even if
Yes, mindfulness is really one of the best things right now as well. I often say, try meditating, and people come back and say, well, I don't know how to meditate. Again, it's one of those things. Google guided meditation, and you will literally see there's thousands and thousands of incredible people doing guided meditation, and they are essentially taking you on a journey with them. So they have learned and they're taking you through that journey that they've learned. So we're so lucky to have these things that are fingertips, honestly. A
lot of people are also doing it for free, so there's no excuse for anybody not to do it. There's all different levels, of course, but I have a girlfriend in LA who's a yoga teacher, and she's doing the sound baths. And one of the mornings I kind of woke up and, I reached for my phone, which I don't normally like to, get on the phone first thing in the morning, but I did it. I was on Instagram and she was doing yoga, but with a sound bath. I'll just shut my eyes for 10 minutes and do this. And it really elevates your energy. It just gets you to that place. And then from there, the next thing happens. Just like when you're feeling anxious and depressed, your mindset can get you in a downward spiral. Doing all these good things can get you in an upward spiral where suddenly you're like, you know what?
100%.
I'm giving a second workout.
And I actually wanted to touch on this as well, that your morning routine is really important because it sets the foundation of the rest of your day. So if your morning is really bad, and if you're just like, just hanging out in bed and lounging, you're probably going to be lounging all day because it makes you, honestly, it brings you down. But if you started with something that will boost your energy, such as a workout that will wake you up, or a green juice, or honestly, even drinking water in the morning, because a lot of people drink a ton of coffee and then they feel really tired because they're crashing. So things that is like, just good for you, water, green juice, workout in the morning, it will really help set the foundation of the rest of your day. And then you will find yourself more energized throughout the day. A lot of people ask me, how is it that you have so much energy? And I tell them I have my days too, because there's days I wake up and I don't do the right things in the morning, not because I don't want to, because I always want to, but because my kids' schedules get in the way. They have all these like Zoom classes and stuff they're doing right now. So it gets in the way of me doing what makes me feel good. And then I feel groggy the rest of the day. So I've actually personally experienced it. So I really recommend starting your day correctly.
Yeah, no, I love that because I have a really strict morning routine. Even now I wake up, the first thing I do is do my bed. I don't like to touch the phone. And then I like to, have my shower and get ready properly and get dressed properly to start my day. And I like to set my intention of actually having a happy day when I'm in the shower.
I love that.
I find
so beautiful.
Even if I don't plan my day like minute by minute or hour by hour, just to say I'm going to have a happy day sets my whole intention and the energy for the day. But I love that. I love doing the morning workout because it really does increase your energy levels.
Boost you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Even if it's that 10-minute workout, while you're making, you do those.
And another thing that people don't realize is that they work out like at 5:36 and they feel restless when it comes to their sleep time.
Right.
And I always say when you work out, it's almost like a energy booster, but it doesn't know whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. It just gives you that boost, whatever time of day it is. So you're stimulated. So when it comes to sleeping, which is another important part of this whole quarantine, A lot of people's sleep is getting affected, obviously not in a good way, in a negative way. I always say, you know, when it's 5:36, you need to start unwinding, right? So you need to kind of stop working if you can, you know, kind of start putting away the laptop if you can. And for everybody's different. I mean, 6:37, whenever it is, 2-3 hours away from your bedtime, try to kind of wind down and drink a glass of wine if you drink, not too much because that's not good either. But you know, watch your favorite series, have a dinner outside, maybe in your balcony or in your backyard. Just really try to calm down. So no exercising after 5:36 if you sleep at 9, because of course you're not going to be able to sleep at 9. You're going to be too stimulated.
And what I've done with my 7-year-old girl is,
Oh,
yeah, she's
cute.
so, she's got an afternoon routine as well. So at 3 o'clock, she switches across to her afternoon routine. And so she'll get to do 20 minutes of screen time, which resets her day. And then she moves into homework.
I love that.
I find that
So
she loves that. So when I say how, you
What
know,
is her name?
Alexandra, she's 7.
Oh,
She's a
so
girl.
beautiful.
Yes,
I
I know.
love
You're
that.
so cute. I love both of your girls, especially your little one. She has this very infectious personality. It reminds me a little bit of Alexandra.
Oh, I'm sure Alexandra is even cuter. Sienna is a very interesting child because she reminds me so much of myself. So, you know, it's just
Yes.
so interesting for me. Whatever she's doing, what she eats, how she behaves around my parents, it just reminds me so much of myself. So it's kind of a trip to see that. It's like almost like you're seeing yourself
Your
grow
little
up all over again.
identicat. She's your little identicat.
Yeah, she's like a little mini me.
A little mini you. Tina, you know, I wanted to ask you, for couples that are at home whose relationship may look toxic right now because of stress factors, and it's so easy to spiral out, like, and domestic violence could be going up. Obviously call authorities if it gets really bad, but
Yes.
what are some tips and strategies we can give some people in knowing how to dissolve toxicity in a relationship? First of all, do you believe that they can dissolve toxicity in a relationship? I know it takes, you know, one person usually, you know, kind of being empathetic. And I love that you said that in a video that you recently posted on your Instagram about really having empathy and respect towards your partner, which is so vital right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that, and this could be my cultural upbringing as well, I think that women, and it's also about masculine and feminine energy, but women have to have more of a respect for men than the other way around, because then men can express their feelings. But if couples are going through some sort of toxicity right now, and I love in Love Unraveled when Dr. Bonnie talks about this, she says 10 little things can equal, 10 little good things can equal a big good thing every month. But also
I love
10
that.
little bad things can equal like a big bad thing during the month. And that's when people push or hit or throw something. And couples are stuck at home right now. And we'll get to singles in a minute as well. But what can we tell people who are maybe feeling hopeless right now, that their relationship is coming to an end because lots of issues are very fast coming to the surface, that cheating or infidelity or that breakdown of communication? Can you heal childhood wounds in a relationship? And what advice do we have for those people?
Okay, well, I think that there's a lot of particulars that go into discussing each person. And I mean, I can give kind of a general guideline for couples in general, but of course, if there is really deeply wounded issues that have been there since childhood, it depends on the severity. It depends on, you know, what it was that exactly happened. How often did it happen? So a lot of specifics go into answering these questions. So it's, you know, per case, of course. But generally speaking, I am a big believer that you can heal couples because a lot of the issues are stemming from miscommunication. And I think if we can figure out the correct way of allowing the couple to communicate their feelings with each other and come from a place of understanding one another, there's a lot of room for growth and even resolving the issues. I always say when couples come in, the most important thing is not how bad the issue is, but how bad they want to fix it. So if both of them are there, okay, to really solve the issue, and both of them are interested in solving the issue, then I think it's very likely that we can go ahead and solve it regardless of what the issue is. In cases of, child abuse in the history of one of the couples, I always do individual therapy with one of the couples, and then couples therapy. And I always have to refer one way or the other, because technically your client is either the couple or the individual. So depending on the case scenario, I will choose to see them either as a couple or individual. And then I will bring in a second therapist to deal with the secondary issue. So one person will do individual, one person will do couples. This is just so people at home can have an idea of how this kind of stuff works in therapy. But specifically speaking, right now during quarantine, I think that was part of your question. There's many things we can do. We can really use this time as a time of growth in our relationship. And I will tell you why. Because there's no distractions. So, when we usually get in an argument, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, but you can use it in a good way. When we get in an argument, the first thing one person may do is they may head out the door and they may go have a drink with a friend, and they may come back drunk, and that can just kind of spiral out of control. Well, we're not going to have that problem right now. There's nowhere to go. So that's a good thing. The other positive thing in that is that you're forced to talk more, right? So you're forced to sit down because you have nowhere else to go. So you might as well sit down and talk about the issue, because otherwise it's going to be a big elephant in the room. So more talking is happening between couples. I think another great thing about this quarantine is that the couples that felt like they didn't have the other person's attention now have that attention because they're at home together. So it's resolving a lot of that, but we also have to be really careful not to get used to this, number one. Number two, not to cross the boundaries, because as couples, it is not natural for us to be together 24/7. And in the beginning, it might almost seem like a honeymoon phase where we're enjoying more of each other, but eventually, because each person's interests are important to themselves and two people cannot have the same exact interests all the time, it's going to be steeping into each other, and it's going to cause issues. So what I've said in the video that I'm sure you've seen is to please be sure to spend time together and utilize this time, but also spend time doing your own stuff, catering to yourself and paying attention to your own interests. If you like to watch a girly show and your significant other likes to watch, like, this guyish show, that's totally fine. Use a laptop and a TV and stay in the same room, do your thing, and let him do his thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't be fearful of allowing your partner to be, because a lot of people think for them to get closer, they need to be together 24/7. And it's not like that. That's not how it works. How it works is that you're together when you're enjoying common interests, or when you're enjoying a meal together, or when you're enjoying something that you're trying to build together. But you don't have to be together 24/7 to be close to each other.
And I love that in your video you also talk about space, because space is something we talk about in Love Unraveled as well. And it's so important, especially because us women, we love to talk and we love to analyze things. And if our partner's around, and when we're getting triggered and we feel emotional, we love to talk. And men are allergic to emotionalism. They want to back out. And that's what could get, especially an avoidant man, that's what could get them kind of, triggered, and that eruption then happens. So I think it's really important to, put that in as well, because I know you talk about that in your video, which I loved. I love that.
This whole concept stems from when my husband and I got married in the beginning. He used to go on a lot of trips, business trips, because he speaks internationally. And I used to just want to hug him and just keep him with me the whole time. So when he was home, I had become really needy. And after a while, I realized, my God, our relationship is just so odd, because I always want to be with him and he always has to go. And I feel like I'm pressuring him. And so I slowly started realizing that I need to really do my own thing. Even when he's home, I need to do my own thing. And I need to have my girlfriends, and I need to let go of him, because he is becoming my pillar of happiness. And as I started working on my happiness individually and building my own relationships with my friends and my own routines and, doing my own thing in a healthy way. We're not talking about, constantly going out on girls' nights. We're talking about, exercising on your own or cooking on your own, just allowing your partner to be. That's when we really started getting close, because he realized that we can do things that he and I like at the same time, and I can do what I like separately. So this whole thing really has worked its way into my life, and it's really helped me help my clients with it. So I'm a big believer in it. You don't have to be together all the time, but you do need to have some interest that you do together. And the other thing for couples I always talk about is increasing likability. And this is part of like the major couples therapy courses. When you take this, is something they really teach you because they really believe in it. The important thing here is to bring back what you were doing in the beginning when you met. So when we first meet our significant other, we have a phase which we call a honeymoon phase. And that's when everything is really pretty and nice and calm and everybody's feeling really good. Why? Because we're on our best behavior. Yes, but why else? Because we are doing things for the other person. We are catering to them, right? So we need to continue doing that. And at a healthy level, of course, not too much, but we need to every once in a while show a romantic gesture. We need to buy some flowers. We need to give a massage. We need to make a meal. You know, just show your partner that you care, and you'll be surprised. You show one time and they will show you once, and this will continue going, and it will just be like a dance, and your relationship will become so much more passionate and beautiful. So please don't forget that. Go back to when you first met and write down, literally, I always say to my couples, journal down the little things that helped you when you guys were together in the beginning.
And it brings back that whole romance that you had at the beginning. We call it a reseduction with Robert Greene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I like
and
that.
I love that term, a reseduction, because it really brings that desire back in. And it's okay to fight. I think it's important for people to know during this time it's okay to fight, but don't blame or shame anyone, because neither one of us is perfect. And really kind of put yourself in the situation. With my partner the other night, he was he was talking about something which was kind of making me feel a little bit emotional because I was tired. I'd woken up early and I'd been working late the night before, and then I went to sleep, and then the next day it had gone away, so there was no point making a big issue about it. But I think fighting is a skill set in itself that is okay right now, as long as people have their boundaries and don't want to continue on that fight. Like women especially, because we love to talk, we can't necessarily resolve everything. Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometimes it's about letting go of that fight because our partner's more important than being right.
Yeah. So in regards to fighting, again, in couples therapy, what we do is that we ask our clients to journal and divide the page into 3 columns. Write down things that you don't like, but you are willing to put up with. Things that you absolutely will not put up with, even if they were to murder you. And things that you care about and you want. So 3 different columns. And what this will tell you, and it will tell your partner, is that they will know this is a deal break. Did I mention the deal breaker column? Maybe
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry. Okay, one of the columns okay, sorry. One of the columns is a deal breaker column, which means if you do this, like there's no more you and I. Like you cannot. Like if you do that, like it's like no. Like there's not gonna be you and I. And we all have those, right? Like, and each person's deal breaker might be different than the other one. But the issue is that couples think their significant other knows all of that. And you'll be surprised how often you find out your significant other doesn't know it, even after 15, 20 years of marriage, does not know that this one thing really bothers you, because we always think that we're like psychics. We always think our significant other is a psychic and they're in our head and they know what's happening. Especially women. Women always think their husband should know better. He should have known better. There is no such a thing. He should have known better. He doesn't know better. He's different. He is built different. His mind works differently. So what this exercise does is that it really allows your partner to get to know what is a complete deal breaker, what is okay, and what things you're willing to compromise on. So let's say, you're the kind of person that is always out with girls' nights. Your partner will say, okay, well, I'm not a big fan of this whole girls' night, but I'm going to let it go. Like, you know how they say, pick your battles? It's almost like that. Like, okay, I don't like it, but I'm going to let it go. But then you know what? You're a smoker, and that's a deal breaker for me. You cannot smoke. Like, I'm not okay with that. And so this exercise really helps couples because it allows them to get to know each other. And it's almost like okay, like you do this, no, and then you do this, okay, I can kind of work with it. And it's really important to know these things. It's very helpful.
I think it's so helpful for people to pick up relationship books, to learn, and I encourage people to watch my interviews and to reach out to people like you, and talk. Obviously with Zoom, it's so easy to, get a meeting.
So easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's so much free information as well, for people just starting to research on YouTube, etc. Although be careful with that, I always say, because it can get confusing, and I don't like manipulation strategies. I like to get to the root of the problem and deal with stuff from a point of like, what's the truth? How do we handle this? How do we find out from the expert, how to tackle a situation such as
100%. Yeah.
go to the best, go to the expert, because then you're not feeling confused, and because you're already in this situation. The last thing you need is another complication, and there can be so much controversial stuff out there with people projecting, etc. So I'm very careful with where I send people to. But for me, it was such an interesting journey, because when I had this assignment to interview the world's top 4 love experts, I was like, oh, this is great. They're going to be some Marie Claire articles. I had no idea how much I needed the help, and I was already reading some books, but I wasn't working out my relationship stuff. I was single, I was dating amazing guys, and I thought that's a relationship, but it was so far from a relationship. And I kept getting stuck because I didn't have the skill set. I would get to that, 3-month point, and that honeymoon, that perfect phase would run out, and I'd get into the point where I have to start doing the work, and I'd be like, triggered.
What do I do now?
What do I do now? Or afraid to talk about my feelings, because it's such a vulnerable, hard thing for a lot of women to do. It's hard for us to ask for what we want, or communicate what we've been through, or to say, I feel vulnerable because of this, because of my childhood, and, help him understand, why all this whole circumstance is coming about. So for our single people at home right now who are maybe kicking themselves or going, wow, why am I single? And they're having this pity party. I have 2 questions. First question is someone who's been wanting to be in a relationship, let's take a guy who may be known as the Peter Pan. Is this a mental illness? Does this mean that they have some sort of deeper issue? How can we help these people? And second of all, like, what advice do we have about them overcoming this and maybe setting some healthy goals that they can achieve?
So here's the thing. It's interesting because I actually have a family member. I don't want to mention exactly who he is, but he does have that title in our family. And I was having a conversation with him not so long ago. As a therapist, I am not a big believer that everybody needs to be in a relationship, or that they need to be in a long-term relationship, or that they need to get married. So I don't find it to be something that needs to be treated if I don't find it an issue. And how I know whether it's an issue or it's not, I ask them, is this something that you want or is it not? If they say it's something that I want, and I can't wait to get married, and I can't wait to build a family, but I can't seem to make that happen, then, okay, we sit down and we talk about it. But if it's not something that he wants, and it's just because the society is saying you need to have a significant other, or you need to get married, or the family's saying that, then I don't think there's an issue. So let's say he does want to make this happen, and let's say he does want to have a family, but he's unable to. Well, then, okay, so then I will sit down in individual therapy, and I will ask a set of questions, what's gone on in his childhood, this and that. There's many, many people, women and men, who have commitment phobia based on simple things that happen in their childhood. Not even, like, we're not talking about extreme cases. We're talking about the kid that had parents that got divorced, and his idea of marriage has changed, and he just thinks, I don't want to get divorced. Divorce is not a thing I want to experience. So it doesn't take a drastic situation in childhood for someone to make up their mind about what they want in the future. And so in that case, if it's not an extreme situation, then I think, yes, it's easily treatable if they want to. And it's not something to get treated about, I don't think, but it's something that you can easily work on if the person really wants to have this certain kind of a, relationship, a serious relationship or a marriage.
Would you call it a mental health issue? Like
No.
not in a bad sense.
No, I wouldn't. I would not call it a mental health issue unless the person thought they cannot function in life without getting. So the definition of a mental health disorder is something that gets in the way of your social occupational life. So if this situation was forcing them not to be able to have a social life that they wanted, sort of say like this relationship, then okay, maybe. But no, I wouldn't. And as a therapist, honestly, it's interesting because a lot of therapists I've noticed start calling their clients patients, and I usually try to stay away from that because mental health is there's so many diverse issues and diagnoses that go into mental health, and so many of them are just personality traits and characteristics. And I don't like to say that a characteristic is flawed. It just belongs to that person. This is who they are. So for example, if I have a young guy who has Peter Pan syndrome and likes to go out with many women and what I will most likely focus on, rather than trying to treat a mental health condition, is I will try to see what it is about these women and going from one to the other that is making him feel good. What is the purpose that it's serving? And once I find out what that purpose is, then I can help him fill that purpose with healthier options so that he can move on to what matters to him in life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 110%, because we talk about it with Dr. John DeMartini as well, and he always says, look to where that particular situation serves you. Because sometimes people repeat a certain pattern because it serves them. It serves them in business to grow, and it serves them, they've probably got the commitment phobia because their parents were divorced and then they got married, but that marriage didn't last. So it serves them to date someone for a year and then end that relationship. It's unfortunate for the woman, or the person who's wanting that longer relationship, if they don't know that this person has this issue. And I think a lot of the time, and I think right now for our single people at home, it could feel like a mental health issue because suddenly they're opening their eyes up to their patterns because they can't hide behind these social circles. They're left with themselves at home.
That's the beauty of this situation.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's so beautiful. And, I feel honored to be able to do this interview with you and to be able to talk about the experts that I've interviewed and the core skill set that I've uncovered as well, which I'm going to send across to you as well, because I know that you'll love it. And I love the work that you're doing. But I think it's so important for people right now to go, you know what? Oh, yeah, I see the pattern that my divorce may have caused me to have like 3 other relationships and they're not working out. I actually want them to work out, but they're not working out because I've subconsciously decided that I can't get remarried because I lost so much money, or, I've got a commitment phobia. And a lot of the time people aren't aware of this. And I think it's going to be so beautiful to see people heal and come out on the other side, changed people, where they can be either upfront about it and say, look, I don't want a relationship. I just want something casual, or be able to go, you know what? It's time for me to get into that committed relationship because I'm hurting myself by not doing that. But
sorry, and I think it's really important for individuals to sit down and ask themselves, what is it that I want to gain out of a relationship? Is it that do I want a partner? Do I want somebody to live with me? Do I want someone to just marry because I want to have a wedding? There's so many different reasons why people think that they need to be married. And then once they get that item or items, then they realize, well, I'm not happy. Well, it's because they didn't write down exactly the particulars in which they expect in a relationship. Because once you know what you expect in a relationship, then you will be able to find the right person, because that person will be a person who is closely matching these ideas. And these are not qualifications. I'm not talking about whether the guy is a engineer versus a lawyer. I'm talking about personality traits like
smart,
connection.
Yeah. Compassion.
I'm talking about a connection level.
Yes.
So I think it's really important to be very aware of what it is that you're looking for. And I think this is the best time for those of you that are single to write down those particulars in a person or in a relationship that you're looking for.
And really do that work and get their mindset right, so that when that person does come into their life, because falling in love, that's the automatic part, that we don't need to go looking for somebody. That person just comes in, and then the honeymoon phase carries it through. And it's after that 3-month pivotal point where we need to have the skill set where, especially us women, need to not feel scared of being vulnerable, where we need to communicate what we want. And then, of course, as we get deeper into, you know, establishing a secure attachment, we need to also know how to negotiate time, space, money, and play. So
all of that, so important. And one other major point for couples, I would say, you know, we put so much emphasis on how our partner is making us happy. And I often hear, oh, I thought he was my better half, but he's not. So the way I look at this situation is that we should be whole on our own, and our partner should be whole on his own. And we come together and we just have really good synergy together, and we just vibe really good together, but we are whole on our own. When we put so much emphasis on how somebody else can make us happy, we are headed for a disaster, because there is no way that they can make you happy, because you're responsible for your own happiness. Nobody, nothing in the world can make you happy unless you decide, today I am going to start taking responsibility for my happiness. My morning until nighttime, every minute, I am the only person in charge of my happiness. The only person. Nobody else can affect that. Not even a husband who is yelling, you know? And once we realize that we have the power over our own happiness and we have control over our happiness, then we take that that huge load that we're putting on somebody else's shoulders, and we take it off, and they can kind of chill and relax, and we can be happy as a couple, because the expectation is not that, hi, I'm pointing the finger and you are the one that needs to make me happy. I'm the one that needs to make myself happy.
110%. I always say you can't have love unless you have happiness within you, because the two are the one thing. Happiness is love.
Happiness is love.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is absolutely key. And I'm so looking forward to my next interview after you is actually with a gentleman from Los Angeles by the name of Rob Mack. And I'll send you this interview as well. He's a happiness expert. And
ooh, I love that.
Yes, and he helps people really get their mindset right about how to get happy within. That's where I got that whole intention setting thing of in the shower, you know, I'm going to have a happy day today.
I love that.
No matter what life throws at us, we can just stay happy, you know, and we can really encourage our partner. And it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I'm mindful of the time with your dinner time.
Thank you so much. It was so wonderful getting to know you more. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Before you go, please let us know where everyone can find you.
Where you can find me on my Instagram, you mean?
Instagram, yeah. Pimp yourself out.
Oh, okay. My Instagram is at Tina Sadri. And my link to my website, which has all my information and my book and all of it, is on there on my bio on my Instagram. So Tina Sadri.
And we'll put it in the notes below as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful
pleasure.
Night.
Thank you so much.